The shatter of glass ripped through the humid night air like a scream I couldn't ignore. My heart slammed against my ribs as I fumbled for the phone, dialing emergency services with trembling fingers, the words, "break in," tasting like ash on my tongue. But when the patrol car pulled up to my rented villa on the cliffs of Costa Brava, the officer who stepped out wasn't some grizzled local, she was a vision of quiet storm, her flashlight cutting through the darkness like she owned it. I was Olivia Harper, 28, a freelance graphic designer who'd fled the relentless grind of Seattle for the sun-baked promise of Spain 6 months earlier. The move was supposed to be my reset button, waves crashing below terracotta roofs, olive groves whispering secrets, endless glasses of Rioja under starlit skies. Instead, it had become a slow unraveling. My savings were drying up faster than the summer heat, commissions trickled in like reluctant lovers, and the isolation gnawed at me. The villa in Tossa de Mar, with its peeling whitewash and creaky wooden shutters, was my fragile sanctuary, perched on the edge of the Mediterranean like it might tumble into the sea at any moment. That night, as thunder grumbled in the distance, I'd been sketching by candlelight, ironic, since the power had flickered out hours ago, when the crash came from the kitchen. "Señorita. Policía Nacional. Open up." Her voice was steady, laced with that faint American twang that made my pulse stutter. I cracked the door, the cool barrel of adrenaline still flooding my veins. She was tall, maybe 5 feet 10 inches, with shoulders that filled out her navy uniform like it was tailored for battle. Dark blonde hair pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail, blue eyes sharp as the bayonets I'd seen in old war museums. "Paige Donovan," she introduced herself, flashing a badge that gleamed under the porch light. Irish-American roots, she later confessed, but she'd been stationed in Barcelona for 3 years, chasing shadows in a country that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. Paige stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, her boots echoing on the saltillo tiles. The kitchen was a wreck, drawers yanked open, my laptop mercifully untouched on the counter, but the petty cash I'd stashed in a teapot gone, along with my grandmother's silver locket, the one with the faded photo of Mom and me on a rainy ferry ride. "Looks like opportunists," she said, kneeling to dust for prints with gloved hands, her movements precise, almost graceful. "Tourist season's over, but stragglers hit the outskirts. You alone here?" The question hung, loaded. I nodded, wrapping my arms around myself, the silk of my tank top suddenly too thin against the chill seeping from the broken window. "Yeah. Just me." Lies by omission were my specialty these days. I'd left Seattle not just for the views, but for her, Elena, the axe who'd carved out my heart with a surgeon's indifference. We'd built a life in a cramped Capitol Hill apartment, shared dreams of adopting a rescue dog named after a poet, but one rainy Tuesday, she announced she was moving to Portland with someone new. No drama, just a quiet eviction from love. Spain was supposed to heal that scar, but nights like this made it itch. Paige stood, holstering her notepad. "I'll file the report in the morning. Storms picking up, roads aflood. You got a guest room. Protocol says I stick around till backup arrives, but honestly, Olivia, this place is exposed." Her eyes met mine then, not as a cop assessing a victim, but as a woman seeing the frayed edges of another. There was no pity, just a shared recognition of worlds tilting off axis. I hesitated, the villa's silence amplifying the rain's tattoo on the roof. "What harm in company?" "Upstairs," I said finally. "It's nothing fancy." She stayed. "Not protocol," she admitted over mugs of instant coffee in the living room, the storm raging like it had a personal grudge. Backup never came, the dispatch radio crackled with flooded roads and higher priorities. Paige shrugged off her jacket, revealing a faded tattoo of a Celtic knot peeking from her sleeve, and we talked. Really talked. She was from Boston originally, ex-Army MP who traded desert patrols for coastal patrols after a knee injury sidelined her. "Spain's got its own wars," she said, staring out at the lightning-veined sea. "Tourists versus locals, expats versus reality. You." I spilled it all, the breakup, the freelance hustle, the way the cliffs reminded me of home's jagged edges. Her laugh was low, warm, like whiskey by a fire. By midnight, the power flickered back, casting golden halos around us on the sagging couch. She didn't leave at dawn. Instead, she fixed the window with boards from the shed, her hands steady as she hammered, sweat beading on her neck in the morning sun. "Consider it community service," she quipped, but her glance lingered, a spark in the salt air. Days blurred into weeks. Paige's shifts ended with detours to my villa, first for follow-ups on the case, then for shared dinners of paella scavenged from the market, her stories of Barcelona's underbelly weaving through the clink of forks. She was 32, divorced from a high school sweetheart who'd stayed stateside, chasing a law degree while she chased ghosts overseas. "We grew apart like continents," she'd say, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. "No kids, no regrets, just a quiet ache for something real." I felt it too, that pull toward her steadiness, the way her presence anchored my drifting world. Our first real touch was accidental, a brush of hands over a colander of tomatoes in the tiny kitchen, her skin rough from calluses, mine soft from screens and solitude. Electricity hummed, not the storms, but something deeper. That night, under a canopy of stars on the terrace, she kissed me. Soft at first, tentative, like testing the tide. Then deeper, her hands cupping my face as if I were porcelain she feared breaking. "Olivia," she whispered against my lips, "you feel like home." We didn't rush, it was a slow burn, conversations turning to confessions, walks along the pebbled beach where we'd collect sea glass, her arms slung casual over my shoulders. But Spain wasn't Seattle, and expat life had its undercurrents. The break-in case went cold, but whispers reached me, locals eyeing the rich American in the cliffside villa, resentment simmering like gazpacho left too long in the sun. Paige warned me, "Keep your doors locked. Not everyone's as welcoming as the postcards say." I laughed it off, but unease coiled in my gut. Elena's emails started arriving too, apologies laced with nostalgia, hints of loneliness in Portland. "Miss you more than I thought," one read. I deleted them, but doubt crept in like fog off the water. Fall deepened, leaves turning ochre on the olive trees, and Paige became my constant. We'd drive her unmarked sedan along the coast, windows down, her playlist of Springsteen and Joan Baez filling the air. She'd sing off-key to "Thunder Road," her free hand finding mine on the gearshift. In bed, it was tender explorations, her fingers mapping my spine like topography, my head on her chest listening to the steady thrum of her heart. We talked futures, her applying for a transfer back stateside, me pitching a book of coastal illustrations. Together, she'd say, her blue eyes fierce. "Wherever." The betrayal came on a crisp November evening, the kind where the sea turns ink black early. I'd been at the Tossa market, haggling for saffron, when my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, "Ask your cop about Elena." Truth hurts. My stomach plummeted. Back at the villa, Paige was late, her shift running over. I paced, the colander of tomatoes forgotten on the counter. When she arrived, wind-tousled and apologetic, I confronted her. "What do you know about my ex?" Her face drained of color, the Celtic knot tattoo stark against her paling skin. "Olivia, it's not," but I cut her off, shoving the phone at her. The texts kept coming, screenshots of messages between Paige and Elena, dated months back. Elena, reaching out to an old mutual friend in the force, Paige, for advice on tracking down me. Not malice, Paige swore, but curiosity turned conversation. They'd met once, in Barcelona, Elena on a layover, spilling regrets over coffee. Paige had listened, offered cop wisdom, but then. Feelings. "She asked about you, and I told her you were healing. But it stirred things up. I should have cut it off sooner." Betrayal twisted like a knife, not just the secrecy, but the echo of Elena in our fragile new world. "You stayed the night that first time because of her. Some recon mission." My voice cracked, the words venomous. Paige recoiled as if slapped. "No, God no. That was real. You were real." Tears streaked her face, but anger burned hotter in me. I stormed out into the dusk, the cliffs calling like sirens. The path was slick with mist, my sneakers slipping on loose stones. Voices echoed from below, locals, perhaps, or shadows of my paranoia. I didn't see the edge until it was too late. One misstep, and I was tumbling, brambles tearing at my jeans, the sea roaring up to claim me. Pain exploded in my ankle as I hit a ledge, the world spinning in grays and blues. Shouts, Paige's voice, raw with terror. She must have followed, her flashlight beam slicing the night. Olivia. Hold on. Her hands, strong and sure, hauled me up inch by agonizing inch, her uniform snagging on thorns, breath ragged against my ear. I got you. I've always got you. In the hospital in Girona, under fluorescent hums and the scent of antiseptic, truth unraveled. Elena had been a ghost, her outreach a desperate grasp at closure, but Paige had chosen me, deleted the messages, blocked the number weeks ago. I was scared, she confessed, perched on the bed's edge, my hand dwarfed in hers. Scared you'd think I was just a rebound. But you're not. You're the storm I want to weather. The doctor said my ankle was sprained, nothing broken, but the real fracture was mending. Forgiveness came slow, in whispers and shared silences, the betrayal a scar that toughened us. Winter softened into spring, the Costa Brava blooming riotous with bougainvillea. Paige got her transfer approved, to Seattle, with a desk job in community outreach. Come with me, she said one dawn, as we watched the sun gild the waves from the terrace. I hesitated, the villa's lease ticking down, Elena's shadow faded to memory. But love, real and ragged, doesn't wait for perfect timing. I packed my sketches, my heart lighter than it had been in years. We left together, her sedan loaded with boxes, the cliffs receding in the rear view like a dream half remembered. Spain had broken me open, but Paige had helped stitch the pieces into something stronger. In Seattle's drizzle, we'd build a new apartment with a view of the Sound, rescue dog in tow, her hand in mine through every squall. Betrayal had nearly drowned us, but in the end, it washed us clean. Love, I learned, isn't the absence of storms, it's the anchor that holds when they rage. The flight back to the States was a blur of recycled air and half-hearted in-flight movies, Paige's head on my shoulder, her fingers laced through mine like a promise etched in skin. Turbulence jolted us midway over the Atlantic, the plane dipping like a stone skipped across water, and I gripped her hand tighter, whispering, "We're okay." She smiled, that crooked tilt that crinkled her eyes, and murmured back, "Damn right we are." Seattle greeted us with its familiar gray veil, the Space Needle piercing the clouds like a defiant needle, rain pattering on the tarmac as we claimed our bags. My sublet in Fremont waited, a cozy craftsman walk up with creaky floors and a bay window overlooking the canal, the kind of place that smelled like fresh coffee and possibility. Paige's transition was smoother than mine. Her new gig at the precinct was all paperwork and prevention programs, trading sirens for strategy sessions. No more midnight chases, she'd joke over breakfast, flipping pancakes with military precision while I doodled logos on napkins. But the nights were harder. Jet lag clung like damp fog, and dreams of Spanish cliffs bled into Seattle's urban hum, sirens wailing in the distance, Elena's ghost lurking in the corners of my sketches. Paige noticed, of course. She'd wake to my tossing, pull me close, her voice a low rumble, "Talk to me, Liv. Let it out." We dove into routines that felt like lifelines. Mornings at the Pike Place Market, elbowing through tourists for the first Dungeness crab of the season, her laughter booming as fishmongers tossed salmon our way. Afternoons in my home studio, now expanded to include her stack of true crime novels on the shelf, while she reviewed case files at the kitchen table. Evenings were sacred, walks along the waterfront, the Olympic Mountains hulking purple in the twilight, her arm around my waist as fairies cut wakes like silver arrows. "This is us now," she'd say, kissing my temple. No looking back. But cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. My freelance work picked up, commissions for local wineries, book covers with a coastal flair, but imposter syndrome whispered I was faking it, a Spain-tanned fraud in a city that knew my scars. Elena's city. One Saturday, wandering queen and solo while Paige ran drills at the academy, I spotted her. Or thought I did, a woman with the same chestnut bob, turning a corner near the locks, a flash of that old scarf I'd gifted her. Heart hammering, I followed, the crowd parting like a bad dream. It wasn't her, just a stranger with a toddler in tow, but the panic lingered, a sour taste. I confessed that night over takeout pho, steam curling between us like unspoken fears. Paige set down her chopsticks, her blue eyes steady. She's gone, Olivia. We both left her behind. But doubt festered. Then came the letters, from Spain, forwarded by the villa's landlord. Not Elena, but the locals I'd half forgotten, a note from Maria, the market vendor, enclosing a jar of her homemade marmalade. For the girl who smiled through the rain. Come back someday. Another from the fisherman who taught us to mend nets, scrawled in blocky script, the sea misses your laugh. They were lifelines from across the ocean, reminders that I'd touched lives there, however briefly. Paige read them aloud one rainy afternoon, her voice thick. You built something real, Liv. Here, too, with me. It sparked a project, my illustrations of Tassa, infused with Seattle's grit, submitted to a small press. Acceptance came swift, a contract that felt like validation. We celebrated at a dive bar in Ballard, her toasting with a pint, to anchors and new horizons. The kiss that followed tasted of salt and stout, deepening as the jukebox spun Lucinda Williams, the world narrowing to just us. Spring thawed into summer, the city unfurling in bursts of rhododendron and fairy horns. We adopted Luna, a wiry mutt from the shelter with one floppy ear and a penchant for stealing socks, named for the moonlit nights on the cliffs, Paige insisted. Training her became our comedy, me tripping over leashes in Discovery Park, Paige's commands barked with mock seriousness, dissolving into giggles as Luna rolled in the grass. It was domestic bliss, the kind I'd once mocked in rom-coms, but now cherished like sea glass in my pocket. Yet conflict brewed, insidious as Seattle's summer smog. Paige's ex, the lawyer back east, surfaced via a certified letter, divorce papers finalized, but with a postscript, tell her I saw the photos. Happy for you both. Photos. Paige paled, scrolling her phone to an old group chat, a candid from Barcelona she'd forgotten to delete, her and Elena, arms linked at a cafe, my villa in the background. It was nothing, she insisted, but the seed of insecurity sprouted. Was I always the echo, the replacement? The climax hit during Pride Month, the streets alive with rainbows and bass-thumping floats. We'd planned to march, arm in arm, Luna in a tiny bandana at home. But en route, Paige's radio crackled, a call from dispatch, minor disturbance at the festival. Go, I urged, kissing her quick. I'll catch up. She vanished into the throng, uniform a beacon. I wandered alone, the crowd's euphoria clashing with my churning gut. Then, there, Elena, real this time, weaving through revelers with a beer in hand, her eyes locking on mine across the parade route. Time fractured. She approached, tentative, the old pole warring with fresh wounds. Olivia. God, you look radiant. We talked, awkward at first, then spilling into the what-ifs. She'd ended things in Portland, therapy uncovering patterns she'd ignored. I see it now, how I pushed you away. Paige told me you were happy. My blood iced. She talked to you. After everything. Elena shook her head. Months ago, before you two. Just advice. But hearing about you, it broke me open. Betrayal's echo roared back, louder than the cheers around us. I fled, pushing through bodies slick with sweat and glitter, tears blurring the confetti rain. Paige found me blocks away, slumped on a bench near the water, the sound lapping like accusations. Liv. What happened? The words tumbled out, Elena, the chat, the lingering threads. Her face crumpled, not denial, but devastation. I thought I'd buried it. For us. She knelt, rain mingling with our tears. But I chose wrong once. Not again. If you need space. No. The word escaped fierce, my hand fisting her collar. We fight for this. Together. We walked home in silence, Luna's joyful yips breaking the tension at the door. That night, we unpacked it all, letters burned in the sink, metaphorically, with wine-fueled vows, phones cleared of ghosts. Paige's vulnerability cracked me open, the army days, losing comrades to more than bullets, the divorce that left her adrift. You grounded me, Olivia. In Spain, in this rain. Don't let me lose that. Healing was messy, laced with therapy sessions in a cozy office overlooking the market, mine first, then joint, unpacking the break-ins of heart and home. Summer waned, leaves turning gold like Tassa's olives, and we emerged tempered, like steel in a forge. My book launched to quiet acclaim, illustrations of cliffs meeting skyscrapers, a bridge between worlds. Paige spoke at a community forum on expat safety, her voice steady. Home isn't a place, it's the people who stay. As autumn deepened, we stood on the ferry to Bainbridge, wind whipping our scarves, Luna's paws on the rail. Marry me? Paige asked, not on one knee but equal, a simple band glinting in her palm, white gold, etched with waves. Laughter bubbled through my yes, sealing it with a kiss as the city receded. Betrayal had been our storm, but love. Love was the lighthouse, guiding us home. Winter wrapped Seattle in its damp embrace again, Christmas lights twinkling like defiant stars against the perpetual dusk. Our wedding was small, intimate, a courthouse affair in January, snow flurries dusting the steps like confetti from a kinder god. Paige in a tailored pantsuit the color of the sea on stormy days, me in a flowing midi dress of ivory silk that whispered against my legs. Luna wore a bow tie bigger than her head, and our witnesses were Maria via video from Tassa, her tear-streaked face beaming on a tablet, and Paige's brother, flown in from Boston with a flask of Jameson hidden in his coat. Vows exchanged under the rotunda's echo, in chaos and calm, I choose you. Rings slid on, cool and eternal, and we danced that night in our living room to, At Last, added James filling the space where ghosts once lurked. Life settled into a rhythm deeper than routine, a harmony we'd earned through discord. My studio thrived, collaborations with indie presses blooming into a graphic novel series, Cliffside Confessions, tales of expats chasing redemption amid azure horizons. Paige mentored rookies at the precinct, her outreach programs bridging divides between immigrants and locals, her passion a quiet fire that drew me in anew each evening. We'd host potlucks for her team, my paella clashing gloriously with their pod roast, laughter echoing till Luna snored in the corner. But humanity's arc bends toward light through shadow, and ours was no fairy tale sans friction. Elena's shadow resurfaced indirectly, a mutual friend from the old days, reaching out with news. She'd moved to Olympia, started a nonprofit for queer youth, channels of the pain we'd shared. She's doing good, the friend texted, a olive branch I wasn't ready for. I showed Paige, expecting the old sting, but she just nodded, pulling me onto the couch. Let her heal her way. We've got ours. It was grace, unearned and profound, the kind that humanizes us all. Spring brought renewal, cherry blossoms carpeting the U-District like pink snow. We took a road trip down the coast, echoes of Spain in Big Sur's rugged bluffs, Paige's hand on my thigh as we wound Highway 1, Springsteen on repeat. Remember that first storm? She asked, pulling over at a vista where the Pacific hurled itself against rocks. I leaned into her, the wind salty and sharp. How could I forget? You boarded up my world. Laughter mingled with the crash of waves, our kiss fierce against the spray. Back home, conflict stirred from unexpected quarters, Paige's knee, the old injury, flared under desk job monotony. Physical therapy sessions left her irritable, snapping over misplaced keys or Luna's chewed slippers. I'm fine, she'd growl, but her limp betrayed her. One night, after a particularly grueling appointment, she broke, sobbing in the shower, water muffling the sound till I joined her, holding her under the stream. I feel broken, she confessed, forehead to mine. Like I'll drag you down. My response was fierce, you're my strength, Paige Donovan. Scars and all. We emerged raw, recommitting to movement, yoga classes in the park, her guiding me through cop drills turned playful tag. The true climax unfolded in summer's heat, a heat wave baking the city like a forgotten tortilla. A call came to Paige's phone, dispatch, urgent, a break-in at a shelter downtown, echoes of our origin story twisted dark. She geared up, instinct overriding caution, but I saw the fear in her eyes. "Stay safe," I whispered, kissing her at the door, Luna whining at our feet. Hours stretched eternal, I paced, sketching frantic waves to calm my hands. Then, the knock, not her, but two uniforms, faces somber. My world tilted. "Ma'am, Officer Donovan's been hurt." Non-life-threatening, but... The drive to Harborview was a haze, rain starting as if the sky wept with me. Paige in a curtained bay, knee retorn, bruises blooming purple on her ribs from wrestling the perp, a desperate kid, high on bad choices. "Handled it," she rasped, for dripping steady, her hand finding mine. But beneath the bravado, terror, what if I'd lost you? Tonight, proving I'm still me. Tears came then, mutual, the betrayal not of lovers but of bodies failing, lives fragile as sea foam. Recovery was a duet of patience and fire. Me, shuttling her to appointments, reading aloud from my drafts while she iced her leg. Her, insisting on helping with dinners from a stool, her stories of the force turning introspective. It's not the chases, it's the why. Protecting what's good. The kid from the break-in. Diversion program, Paige's testimony swaying the judge towards second chances. Humanistic threads, weaving redemption from ruin. Fall painted the sound in coppers and crimsons, our first anniversary marked with a picnic on Alki Beach, sandwiches, wine, Luna chasing gulls. To stain the night, Paige toasted, her knee brace hidden under jeans, mobility returning like a tide. I clinked glasses, and changing everything. As dusk fell, fireflies winking like stars fallen to earth, we lay tangled on the blanket, her head on my chest. I love you, Olivia Harper Donovan. Through every break-in life throws. The ending wasn't fireworks or tragedy, but quiet profundity, the humanistic pulse of two souls mended by storms. We adopted a second rescue, a shy terrier named Soul, for the Spanish son we'd left behind. My novel series expanded, tours taking us to readings in Portland. Elena sent a congratulatory card, unsigned but felt, Boston, even a return to Barcelona. Paige walked without a hitch, her outreach inspiring policy shifts for expat support nationwide. Years layered like sedimentary rock, our love a cliffside villa enduring gales. Children came via fostering, a teenage girl first, wide-eyed and wary, then a boy with Paige's stubborn chin. Family dinners echoed with multilingual chatter, the table a map of blended worlds. On quiet nights, we'd sit on the deck, the city lights mirroring the sea we'd known, her hand in mine. The break-in that started it all. A catalyst, not a curse, proof that from shattered glass rises unbreakable pains. In the end, life's drama isn't plot twists alone, but the emotional scaffolding we build, romance as rebellion against isolation, betrayal as teacher of trust, humanity as the grace to begin again. Paige and I, forever changed, forever choosing each other, in Spain's salt or Seattle's rain, home was wherever we stayed the night.